Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I want to talk about how to trigger in avoidance emotions and why triggering in avoidance emotions is one of the only ways that they really stay with you. And I think a lot of people get this very confused because in avoidance emotions can be very overwhelming. It can be very confusing to a person who is not an avoidantly attached individual. And what happens is when an avoidant has a particular emotion, sometimes it seems like they're pushing you away, and you might almost feel instinctively like that means they don't care about you, they don't love you, because it's kind of against the way maybe your attachment style works. But what does this even look like? What do I mean by triggering in avoidance emotions, and why is this important? This is a bonding technique for a lot of people in general, especially those who are avoidantly attached. When you have some sort of emotion, it shows consciously and also subconsciously that you are invested in this relationship. It shows you, but it really shows them as well. People don't typically react if there is no emotional investment in a particular relationship. And so this is why this is very important. And I'm going to give you an example of what it looks like so you know that it's happening. So when you are upset, do they attempt to fix it even if it's temporary? And I know a lot of people don't like this because it feels a little bit dishonest, even though it's not necessarily intentional. When they make a promise right after you get upset, you might feel like they're just lying to you or just giving you lip service. But that's not necessarily what's occurring. This is actually a sign that the avoidant individual is actually leaning more towards commitment. For female avoidants, I see it more commonly where they might ask you, are you mad? Are we okay? And sometimes there's like a lag time. So it might be like a couple days later. It might be a couple hours later after when you get a little bit upset. They might say like, are you mad? Are we okay? What's going on? For a male avoidant, they might actually make a promise to fix it. They might be very flustered about the emotion that you have. What's going on? Why are you feeling that way? Did I do something? Like, what did I do wrong? Are you mad at me? They might still say something similar, but it's a little bit more in line with wanting to fix it, where the female avoidant, sometimes it comes across a little bit more wanting reassurance. It's not all the time, but I do notice that's the difference there. So that's one way you might see it. You're upset. And the other caveat to this, or a sub point, is do they fix it? A lot of people don't like this about avoidance, but it is true. There is a level where actually you applying a certain amount of pressure actually does make them change to some extent. You can see that it's actually making them change. And the interesting part of all of this is actually you might find that you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable because you're afraid of them feeling this way or being upset. And so you almost err on the side of caution. But sometimes it can be beneficial, especially we've talked about this on calls that I've had with some of you guys. There is a moment where I've told you guys specifically, this is the moment where you need to lean in a little bit and actually push them towards that feeling that they would have if you were honest. And if you want to call with me, that's pinned in the comments. But this is a very specific technique and it does work really well. They are not going to fully commit if they are always suppressing their feelings. This is just the truth. And so letting them see their own emotions is really important. Tiptoeing doesn't work, at least not for the long term. The next one is when you are happy or excited about something, they also become happy or hopeful or excited. For fearful avoidance, they actually might show signs of reduced anxiety. They might not be as anxious about how you feel, because at the end of the day, they are connected to you, they are attached to you, and they really feel like they're attached to the outcome of your life as well as their own, because the lives together are intertwined to some extent. And so when you're happy, they're going to be happy and excited for you. They feel really connected to your emotions. They become happy as well. They might even say something like that, like, I feel happy too, or that makes me really happy that you're happy. You can see that as well. But in general, they might just be more excited. They might not even realize it. The next one is it doesn't matter if it's fearful avoidant, dismissive avoidant, male or female. Almost all of them have something like this, and it's pretty even across the board. If you praise them about their efforts or specifically something that they have changed in a good way, they are happy and proud of themselves. They might even say thank you. They become more loving after this as well. And if you continue to do this, the love that they show, it's going to be more direct and more obvious as the relationship goes on. And I think what's going to be helpful is I give you an example so you kind of know what I'm talking about. Praising your efforts might be them praising you, praising their efforts will be something like, I appreciate how loving you've been, how romantic you've been recently. That really makes a difference for me, and I'm really happy. You've changed in a good way. Something like that will really prove to an avoidant that they can change. A lot of avoidants, they get mad and they say, I don't want to change, right? That's very, very common. This is the way I am, take it or leave it. I've had so many calls with you guys, and almost all of you guys say, yeah, my partner has said that at one point. Actually, I think all of you guys. And why that's very important is actually inwardly they do want to change. I know it sounds backwards, but they do want to change. They just don't want to be pressured to change, but deep inside, the reason why they're saying, I don't change or I don't want to change is because they actually don't want to see themselves fail. I want to give an example, but I don't want you guys to take it and run with it because the example I'm going to give you is very specifically clinical, okay? Let's say for someone with social anxiety, they start avoiding social interactions that can make them feel rejection if it's a severe case. And they might say, I don't even want to socialize. I'm not that kind of person. Stop pressuring me to go outside and talk to people. I don't want to go to that party. But deep inside, they actually wish they could be social, a lot of them. They just don't want to feel the potential of rejection. And so they actually act and perceive that they don't want to socialize. But that's not actually true. It's the same thing with avoidance. A lot of them say, I don't want to change. But in actuality, they wish they could change, but they're just so afraid of the process of changing, like, triggering you to think that they're less than or a failure. They don't want to see that. And so their defense mechanism is by saying, I don't want to change, similar to a lot of people with social anxiety. I don't want to socialize. I don't want to go out. I don't like parties. But if you ask a person with social anxiety, especially if you have rapport with them, there's a part of them that wishes they could be the center of attention. They could be comfortable with it, but they just don't like the potential of rejection that meets to that point. Similar with avoidance, they're sensitive to failure. They don't want to see themselves fail. But the reality is, no matter how social you are, for example, with social anxiety, you're gonna get rejected or embarrassed by socializing. It's part of the process of socializing. It's the same thing. By changing, it's part of the process to socialize. And so I just put those two as an example, but it can help you to illustrate what's really going on. The next one is that they actually ask for your input or opinion, and maybe your emotion towards a situation. And whatever that emotion is, it actually changes their outlook. It could be even something political. It can be financial. It can be about the job market. It can be really about anything. It doesn't have to be specific about your relationship. But what I see with a lot of couples and what I find when I'm seeing a lot of you guys in sessions is that when you do this, and I do need to mention this, if you guys have a second session with me, you don't have to write all the details all over again. You can just book it and then write in the box to book a session. You can just mention I'd like a second session or a third session to go over A, B, and C. Some new things have occurred. You can say that. You don't have to go over the whole story again. I remember your cases very well, so don't worry about that. But what I see is sometimes repeat sessions. The first one I might say, why don't you give this a shot? And the second time, you might come back and be like, yeah, I did that. And they change their outlook. It makes me feel like I'm pressuring them, or maybe it's not genuine. And a lot of you guys do that. And I've told you if you do it. And I'm not sharing anyone's specific information. I'm just giving a general consensus. A lot of you guys do this. And what I tell you guys is, well, let them change their outlook, because that's their choice. They change that outlook because you had an emotion, but it's not guilt. You didn't guilt them. It's their way of committing to you when they change their outlook based on the emotion that you've had. If you're upset about something, you don't like something, and that you reacted a certain way, you don't appreciate the opinion they've had or something they shared, not that you're forcing them, it's just a natural reaction. Let them react to that. Let them change their outlook. It's how they commit. The next one, and it's the last one, if you do something, so when you have an outward dislike towards something, it can be you don't like when people wear this type of color in summer. Some people are like that. I don't do that. I like light colors. I don't like wearing dark colors even in the winter. So I like wear summer clothes all year round. But like summer colors, right? But some people are like, oh, you can't wear certain colors in the wintertime. And let's say that's you. Nothing wrong with that. And they start picking up on that as well. They literally start picking up that opinion. They start talking about it more. They start learning more about this particular thing. And so these are ways that when you trigger these things in an avoidant, they actually think that you're the one and they stay. And so let's go ahead and summarize it, and then we'll wrap it up. It's kind of hard to summarize because these are very small sub-points, but overall, the summary is, if they have any sort of emotion, even if it's upset, even if it's sad, even if it's happy, whatever emotion, if they are having that emotion, and it kind of, especially if it shifts their view in something, this is a sign that you're the one, you're the person they committed to. So I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.